Hey true believers, ENGLENTINE here. Now last week I did a video asking, is Marvel dead to you? And also I asked, do the YouTube commentators perpetuate the hate by constantly making negative videos towards Marvel? You answered both, some very passionately, and I figured, okay, why don't I just gather a whole bunch of them, answer them, and we'll share this. If it is popular, we'll do more controversial videos. So here we go. Envy Nosson says, no, but I want an apology. Until then, I don't want to hear anything Marvel. I'll go on with my life and give some indie comics a chance. When Marvel comic book writers are talking down to their fans, it's time to take a hint and go on with our lives. Which, of course, gets the reply from Midnight TV. Yeah, apologies, or at least fire the rest of them and issue a statement about course correction. I didn't mean to get sayings, but he does make a point. There are some good Marvel comics right now. There are some crappy ones as well. But this is actually a statement that is said a lot. People want an apology. People want heads to roll as well, but an apology would go a long way to help people returning to the Marvel fold. Nostalgia and Criticism says that I think that until some things truly change and the people actually see the changes in a big way themselves, there will be Marvel haters at the end of the day. Even if things go back 70% of what it used to be, there will still be Marvel haters in the long run because that's just how they are. Mess up once with them, they'll turn tail on you. I have not picked up a Marvel comic in a long time. I am still on a boycott run until I see sentiments change from the creators on social media. It's just how I feel on a personal level. I still go to my local comic shop on New Comic Book Day with a buddy who buys Marvel. I never talk down to him, but give him my opinions as to some of the titles. At the end of the day, you're not contributing to the hate. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nostalgia and Criticism. People watch to make themselves feel good. If your enemy of nemesis does good to the point, you give them props. Some just can't handle it. I want there to be good competition between companies to keep pushing them. You're doing fine, and I'm glad you're honest with your reviews. Thank you very much there, Nostalgia and Criticism. That is also something I want to address anyway, is the fact that me and my brother, when we do our Marvel versus DC, we're not reviewing Twitter. We're reviewing comic books. So if the work is good, no matter what they're saying on Twitter, no matter how much of a shit person they are, the work is good. We're going to say that. When it comes to reviewing, that's what we focus on. And I very much appreciate the sentiment. Thank you. James Hayes goes on to say, like you, I hate identity politics. For me, there are maybe 2 or 3 worthy titles rolling out of Marvel right now. Any media company gets lots of love or hate based on current success, and calling it out isn't making anything worse. It's just desserts. The term SJW became a profanity based on the behavior of those upholding the name, with the attacks on fans, critics, and anything not adhering to their political beliefs, with the failure to take responsibility while blaming those that supported them for years. Marvel drove people away in such a fashion as to make it impossible to embrace them again without a major house cleaning and an apology. It would take years of work redeeming the name. That's their fault. They're wrong. My friend Spike and fellow YouTuber, so make sure you check out his YouTube channel. Unless they are Marvel Knights era quality books, I'd rather read other stuff. This applies to all comic book companies. That's why I haven't gotten into X-Men books since the first Uncanny X-Force ended. Everything since has been weak sauce in my opinion. They had a very long and awesome run with massively good books in the X titles, one after another from around 2006 to 2013. Even Peter David's all-new X-Factor featuring my favorite character of all time was oakish at best. Unless they give me something on that level to read, I really am not interested. However, I get the crowd who just want Marvel roast videos. They are not even readers, just kids who like the trolling bandwagons, but, well, that's a default in the YouTube territory. Now, I'm happy to say that recently I've been reading some good Marvel books. Yeah, the Legacy, they have turned some stuff around. Things have been improving. Now, I don't know if people who like to watch roast videos are real readers or not. I know that sometimes we get big trolls on them, but that's not the majority. When you ask if we're too far gone, it isn't the label itself causing issues, in my opinion. It's the people in Marvel's employ that do. I think noting that makes all the difference in the world, because a lot of people forget what other companies are doing, too. I buy Garth Ennis right now, for example. Why? Because he writes a solid story and he doesn't outline a solid FU online. On the other side, I won't buy Dan Slott titles because of his actions outside of comics, and to an extent in. I also reserve that for IDW, Top Cow, etc., etc. So for the question, I'm not done with Marvel, but my pull list is negligible. I'm spending a lot to catch up on DC titles I never read before. $1,000 a month or more on trades and pulls, and I'm getting 1 to 3 Marvel titles on average. Thanks, and well actually is a bit that I did. Anyway, I really do wish sometimes that the people we're talking about here, the Dan Slotts, would actually watch the videos. I know I'm muted and blocked on quite a few of them, so I have no illusions that they would ever see this, or if anybody shared it, that they would ever watch. For people who claim to be so open, they're incredibly closed-minded. But I think this should be required viewing. Jay Henson says, and Gene Gantry agrees, that at this time I do not buy any Marvel books. I only support DC. I should point out I consider myself a Marvel fan over DC. However, I will not support Marvel's current politics. When I start seeing changes in the Marvel books, I will go back to buying Marvel books. As for responsibility, you are only responsible to your fans and not for your fans. And that's from Rod Serling. Well, when one has the philosophy of the Twilight Zone thrown in their face, one can only agree. Mav Eric says that Marvel kind of faded out for me when Superior Spider-Man started, but it really died for me when Cap spoke 2 words: Hail Hydra. Marvel Legacy just made my eyes roll. How they presented the new SJW heroes is better than the OG heroes. The poor treatment of flagship characters like Spider-Man, the X-Men, Cap, Thor, etc. made me quit them and jump ship to DC, Dark Horse, Udon, or manga, like My Hero Academy or Hellgirl. I'll keep my eyes on them under CB Cebulus. I'm not going to pronounce that, but I doubt I will ever buy any Marvel comics again. It's kind of like ex-girlfriend. It was true love until she began treating you poorly and cheated on you. It's painful as hell at first, but after a while, the pain numbs and you get over her. The point, do you see identity politics when you see black person? To answer that, SJWs made me see that shit even though I never saw it before nor want to see it. I hate how all their agenda bullshit made me more critical and closed-minded towards new characters that represent minorities back when I started reading comics. I never gave a shit about skin color of Cyborg or Wiccan sexuality. I still loved reading their stories, but when a new guy with these, let's say, criteria come around, I instantly think, oh, another SJW character. But if the writing gets me interested in these characters, I don't see them as SJW quota anymore. Happened to me while reading the current Nightwing run when they brought in the runoffs. First of all, Nightwing has been getting better. Second of all, you, Maverick, are one of the few people who admitted to the fact that Marvel's SJW politics has made them punch drunk to the point where the first reaction is, oy vey. And it happens. I know I've done that too. If I hear certain, I get triggered, is the catchphrase of the day. If I hear a certain term, I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. Yeah, because I'm already expecting it, even if it isn't really that strong of a point in the story. I appreciate you being very honest there, guy. Putting the comics aside, the people and the way they have behaved doesn't instill much confidence in the company. Their comics only confirmed how these comic creators are getting in their own way and producing a good read. At this point, I won't put another pound to Marvel until they have cleared out the ones who destroyed confidence in Marvel and replaced them with people who are prepared to earn that confidence back. This goes for their comics, their movies, all their products. EA is bad enough. Maybe taking away Marvel's comics cash flow will impress on them the importance of treating their fans. and their comic book characters with respect. So many times we're told by these companies that the individual doesn't matter. Well, when enough individuals assemble, they become a fan base, and a fan base the company turns against itself only has itself to blame when they don't give us positive things to talk about. Thank you, Dave Free. Sorry, I forgot to read off the name when I first read the comment. Now, you say putting comics aside. That stood out to me right away because that's the whole point. We're collecting comics, not Twitter comments. And I understand, yeah, some of the writers and artists get really bad on Twitter, but I don't know. You know, isn't the comic books the point? Corrupt says, to answer your question, possibly. I find a lot of their SJW stuff kind of offensive. Iceman is an offensive gay stereotype. Hell, the dude in Wasp, She-Hulk, etc., black women and men are either portrayed as ugly robots or just robots. Women are basically told they must have a male physique in order to be taken seriously as leaders. This doesn't even go into the comics pros' awful behavior. They attack their readership, etc., etc. No, I think you are placing too large of blame on your shoulders. The books are pretty bad, and the market is making that known. Plus, the pros are really horrible human beings. Well, I would use the modifier some when talking about the pros. I mean, really, there are quite a few of them, but there's a whole bunch of them that aren't. You know, Ethan Van Sciver, of course, has become somewhat of a local hero because he is not one of those. Now, what you're talking about as far as the offensive stereotypes, oh my gosh, I've so said that over and over and over again. But it's not so much that I would put blame on the shoulders. It is, however, something I do. I do like to look in and find out what I'm doing and how I'm either helping or hurting. I don't feel blame, but I always do question. I will just butcher your name if I try to pronounce that, Zook. A new comic starring black character of any racial identity minority definitely is not by itself evidence of SJWisms. But I am finding that whenever I see one, I have to at least suspect the possibility that it is riddled with SJWisms until I've read it, or seen a review and know otherwise. Which frankly is not a good feeling. I miss being able to go, oh sweet, a new IP, and dig into it, see if it's something I'll enjoy rather than having to be cynical. And another person who, like me, sometimes feels punch drunk. Yeah, you do get kind of cynical after a while. Colmer Timer 66 says, there is a very vocal minority who are cynical and have lots of hate for Marvel, but I think still, of all the haters, many will come back in Marvel if it got better, even though they would swear they will not. I do not think you breed the hate. I think the hate is there, and those viewers gravitate towards the anti-SJ commentators. I think mostly the hate you two get here is from the vocal minority who are here for the wrong reasons. If viewers are here because they love comics and want to talk about them, then they would have no problem with your good reviews or even Marvel changing. Often it seems SJWs and anti-SJWs can sometimes be two sides of the same coin when it comes to hate and anger. We should strive to be better than the SJWs we dislike and not like them. I think many of the channels do this well, while some are a lot more cynical about it all. I definitely agree with that two sides of the coin thing, because I have seen it used on our side many times. Just all the same things you complain about the SJW using against us, blocking us, and then talking about us behind our back. I have seen that being done in our group. Also playing the victim card. It's amazing to me, the lack of self-awareness sometimes. Leonardo Vidal asks, can I be an ass and answer a different question? Marvel monthly comics are pretty much dead to me for a good while. If I hear about an enticing story arc with a character I know and like in the future, I will purchase it in TPB. Maybe after I checked it out online to see if it's a valuable purchase, as I sometimes do with remarkable old comics I like. This month I bought an issue of Mortadella y FLYNN, Agents of Ant, for a steal at an antique comic shop. They are descendants of the French school of Ligny, sorry if I said that wrong, Atomic, so sort of similar to Asterix, and were pretty popular in Spanish countries and Latin America in the old days. So yes, pretty dead, unless they write a good story arc. Not a good monthly comic every blue moon. First of all, Leonardo, thank you very much for asking permission to be an ass. Many people just dive right on and be an ass without any kind of go-ahead. That's very kind of you. Second of all, you kind of answered the question put there. Is Marvel dead to you? You answered yes, until they start writing better stories. And sorry if I butchered all of the French and Spanish words. I'm not very good at that kind of thing. That's well known. That being said, Asterix, yes, I agree, is an excellent comic book. The Comic Kid, who, by the way, has a channel, so check that out as well, says, funny thing that you bring this up. I've been thinking about doing a video on it soon, but there are many Comicsgate channels that I simply cannot picture post-SJW Marvel. Unfortunately, I think that even though I will be celebrating in the streets, there will be many, many, many people that are going to be so distanced by this that they are never going to come back. So I think that Comicsgate will split next year between those who continue fighting even SJW Marvel is finally gone, and those who will quit or become normal channels, like me. That's Comic Kid saying like me. Overall, our channels will survive, but we will be veterans of a kind of a war. Well, kid, I gotta say, I love the fact that you said that after this whole SJW Marvel thing is over, there may be some channels that won't survive. I think that's very perceptive. Some people are so wrapped up into this particular subject alone that what are they going to do afterwards? Now, people are going to say stupid things all the time, so you can make a video of it. But it is a very interesting thing that if you make a channel solely on this, what are you going to do afterwards? That's really cool. Also, do the video. Either do a video on what I just mentioned, or do the video on, will you ever come back to Marvel? You should do that. Either way, I really thought that was a cool comment. Once again, gang, give Comic Kid a chance on the YouTube channel there. Check it out, all right? Here's one from Mr. Mike Gibson saying, you and your brother will disagree with one another and with people who listen to your videos from time to time because, well, we're all individuals, and individuals sometimes disagree on stuff. It's silly for fans to get into that sort of extreme mode of thinking where anyone who likes an issue of a Marvel comic book is suddenly a flaming cuck. Overall, you guys have been pretty clear and explicitly saying that you do not like the identity politics of Marvel comic books. No more explaining should be required. As for myself, I am really put out with Marvel, and it has everything to do with what has happened on the printed page. They took away several of my favorite iconic characters and replaced them with poor stand-ins, and they produced comic books that, besides being preachy and obnoxiously political, are in too many cases just plain poorly written, poorly drawn, and boring. I still pick up 2 or 3 Marvel books that I like, flaming cuck that I am, sarcasm. For instance, I think Thanos is awesome, but I would rather eat bugs than read Captain Marvel or Squirrel Girl. That said, if and when Marvel starts producing comic books I want to read again, I'll start buying more books again. I'll admit I have a bad taste in my mouth about some of the people that work there now, but ultimately, my relationship with Marvel is a very simple one. If they produce good books that I like, I will buy them. We don't have to like each other. Well, Mike, if there was a mic to drop, I think you just did it. I think you just made the entire case and you used the comic books, not the people, to make it. And in the end, you're right. Is the work good? Sure, fine. Okay, we'll check it out. I don't need to like you. I don't need to like people on Twitter to read a good book. Good points. Thank you very much for your comment. I think because that one was so good, maybe we'll do one or two, or just keep going here. So we have Robo-Rope says, contributing, yes. Impacting on a meaningful scale, not even close. Now, I thank everybody who put a comment in the comment section. There were 200, so obviously I couldn't use all of them. Basically, a lot of them just went over the same points. It's the people behind the comic books, the writers, the artists, treating fans really badly on Twitter and such. And I agree with them. It is horrible. Also, the comics themselves, the way that the legacy characters take over for the classics instead of being their own entities. That's ticked off a lot of people. Anyway, tell me what you think. Also, tell me what you think of this particular style of video. If you like it or hate it, let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to click like, share, subscribe if you haven't done that already. Hit the notification bell. You know the pitch. You've heard it a million times. And also, this is the way that we make our living. So if you don't mind helping us keep the lights on, helping us keep making videos for you like this, please head on over to Patreon or VIDME. Drop $1 in the till. Links are in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody who's already done that. And to everyone, all the true believers who want to stand a little straighter, walk a little prouder, be an innovator, laugh a little louder, grow forever greater, we can show you how to. Where will you be then? You'll belong to the Merry Marvel Marching Society. We thank you very much for watching.
Stand a little straighter, walk a little prouder, be an innovator, laugh a little louder, grow forever greater, we can show you how to. And when will you be then? You belong to the Merry Marvel Marching Society.